Welcome everybody, JJ here from the Genesys Spark team. I'm really excited to take you through this product update. Today I'm going to be focusing on Genesys Cloud CX and specifically web messaging. Now, if you're not familiar with web messaging, this is our next generation of web chat, and it's going to absolutely blow your mind. It's going to give you the ability to encapsulate so many different aspects of digital interactions into this single web messaging architecture. Further down the line, it's so versatile and so agile. So let's think about how this came about. We've got traditional web chat within Genesys Cloud CX, and you can leverage one of the two widgets, widget one or widget two, to give you different functionality. But we went out to the market and we said, what's the common pain points of web chat? How do you see it unfolding in your business? What would you like to see web chat evolve into as a product? And the feedback was really all around continuity. It's all about having the ability to have continuous conversations, allowing people to leave and resume. This is the biggest frustration was when I queue for an agent in web chat, I have to queue and wait. It has to have an agent online for the end user to communicate. Likewise, when I get through to an agent, if that agent's unable to handle my interaction and transfers me, I have to repeat the conversation again. More often than not, there's no continuity around that transcript aspect, that conversation that's unfolded. And of course, if I end the chat or get disconnected from the chat, then I have the scenario where I have to reconnect. And guess what? I have to repeat myself again. And these are all common pain points of web chat as we see it today. From an admin perspective, we got the feedback that brands want to be more in control of what they do around web chat within Genesys Cloud. You know, there's a massive amount of reliance on web developers and other teams to bring both the website together using web chat and Genesys Cloud CX. So we took all this on board, and that's where we came up with web messaging. Simply put, web messaging is the next generation of web chat. It allows a brand and individuals to have a 24/7 contact, a digital channel running 24/7 using full asynchronous messaging. And that's really the big key difference here. Previous web chat had synchronous messaging, so you could message when people were online. Now you've got the ability to really build out those conversations and leave and resume at any time during a given time window. And that time window is a standard industry, it's 72 hours, and that is configurable down to 0 in increments of 1 minute. But 72 hours is pretty much a standard for asynchronous messaging, where you can just leave a conversation and come back to it, like we do every day on our cell phones, on our mobiles. You know, you don't have to repeat the conversation to your friends and your colleagues. You just read through the history and you just carry on the conversation where you left off. And that's exactly what you can now do with web messaging from Genesys. It also, from the brand perspective, means that they can be online now 24/7. So it enables brands to have a digital channel online. And when a consumer engages with that digital channel, you can leverage all types of aspects within Genesys Cloud. But if you was just reaching out to an agent, that agent can deal with that inquiry when they log in, when they're available, and reply to it. And the consumer can come back to that conversation when they want as well. So it gives you a true 24/7 presence with that asynchronous messaging, which really personalizes the whole experience. So let's have a look at where we are today with web chat and web messaging. Well, you can see that web messaging is pretty much on par, even though it's still in beta phase, and its GA is hopefully going to be around about August 2021. We're pretty much on par with web chat. In fact, we're better than that, because now we've got asynchronous messaging. It does allow you to leave and resume at any time. It allows you to also insert images and emojis to really enhance the emotion of that engagement. And there's a common UI around the configuration and authoring. So when you configure and author these new web messaging flows, there's a single UI within Genesys Cloud Admin that can leverage to build out all this information. And you simply give a snippet of code to your web developer. Your web developer doesn't have to spend time on building out that whole architecture now. It just simply copies and pastes the content that you give them from Genesys Cloud, and everything seamlessly works. It's really exciting. I'm going to show you that in a live demo in a second. So you can see there's a few things there on the roadmap, and they are to come. And I'm going to cover the roadmap in a few minutes. But first, how do you leverage this once it goes live? Well, in beta stage, customers with GC2 and GC3 can leverage the beta. However, once it goes live, If you're on GC1, you'll be able to also leverage that by taking advantage of the digital upgrade one path. So if you're new to digital and you want to dip your toes and have a play with web messaging, that's the route you can take if leveraging voice only with GC1 licensing. So now let's dive in and take a look at the live demo. The live demo consists of my agent here, JJ, and my customer, who's going to be browsing the RunnerUp Tech site here. And she's called Victoria. Now, Victoria is a subscriber of RunnerUp Tech, and she's sent a laptop into RunnerUp Tech for repair. And what she wants to do is simply chase her repair. So traditionally on the website here, what we would do is open up something like web chat. So this is the traditional web chat we have here. And you were forced to very much authenticate with the web chat at this stage. So Genesys Cloud knows who you are. Now, if you're a new customer coming to a new business, you may want to engage with that sales stream and find out more about the product before you actually give them your personal data. So this is, again, some other feedback that we've got. So if we move away from that traditional method and click on the services pane, here, what we see is a new launcher. This is what we call the Web Messenger launcher. And when we click on that, the Web Messenger service gets activated. It synchronizes any historic data that's there of the last 72 hours period, and it will bring that into the full asynchronous messaging stream. Now, this is a brand new message. So obviously there's no historic data there. But what I am going to show is a concept of how you could possibly authenticate. Now, remember, on a sales page, you may not want to authenticate to the fact that you want to really ask personal details for that customer. But on this occasion, where Victoria is coming to find out about an existing case, we need to do that. We need to identify Victoria. So I'm going to type in hi, and this could naturally transfer straight to an agent, and the agent could be chatting to Victoria. But I'm just going to show you a bit of a scenario here where you could leverage our Genesys Cloud bot session, okay, what we call the bot flow. And all I'm going to do is type in here an authentication of Victoria's email address. So let's type in Victoria. sandwich@outlook.com. So in doing that, what's going to happen again, we've engaged another part of the flow, and this is going to be a two-factor authentication. So we've actually sent a code to my mobile, and it's 9264 that's come through. So if I type in 9264, Victoria will be authenticated securely and now recognized by the bot flow. And what the bot flow has now done in the background is gone off to the CRM and looked at the CRM to look at any existing cases. In return, it's come back and said, Victoria, we can see you've got an existing case. It's a laptop return. Do you want to discuss that with us today? Victoria's going to type yes. And in doing so, we'll transfer immediately to an agent because it's really best served by an agent on this occasion. So let's hop over to JJ. Let's switch JJ on queue. And we'll see now the interaction being pushed to JJ. JJ goes ahead and clicks answer. Now, JJ has got the world at his fingers now. Here in Genesys Cloud, he could hop into a screen pop. He could look at the customer profile. He could open up the customer journey and see where they've gone to on the website, etc. But what we're going to do is simply use canned responses. So I've got a stored canned response here, which is going to be a welcome to. And I understand you're looking for this, Victoria. Let me go and investigate. So I've stored this under web messaging. So there we go. We'll pop that into the chat, and that automatically gets pushed over to Victoria to review. So Victoria turns around and says, great. Thanks, JJ. Now, this is really interesting because now that update has gone across to JJ here, and JJ can see that. And whilst JJ investigates this whole logistics scenario, where the laptop is, where the repair phase is, Victoria goes offline. Not only does she close down the chat session, but she actually closes down the web page. So she's fully disconnected. But at this point, because we're now using asynchronous messaging versus synchronous, we're able to still retain the connection of the web messaging stream. Now, traditionally, using that widget 1 or widget 2 web chat functionality, the agent would have been disconnected because both parties had to be online. So this is absolutely superb because JJ in the background can be working on this particular inquiry and says, great news. Your machine is ready for shipment. And in fact, he even pops in a quick attachment just to show a picture of the laptop being fixed. And that gets pushed into the live stream. Now, remember that Victoria is now missing from the conversation, or she's gone away. It might be the end of her lunch hour and she's had to go back to work, or maybe she was on the move on her cell phone. And of course, she's been disconnected because of maybe lack of Wi-Fi service or cell service. So when Victoria now comes back online, all she needs to do is go back to the runner-up site, go back to services, and reconnect to the chat session. So here she goes to services, and you'll see the launcher down the bottom. She clicks on the launcher. It knows Victoria's browser, so automatically synchronizes the previous conversation that's been driven over 72 hours. And hey presto, she's got the update there from JJ, which is absolutely fantastic. And she's overjoyed. Oh, that's excellent. Thank you, is her response. Now, if JJ had disconnected at this point because Victoria hadn't responded during the last chat, what would happen here? That interaction would be pushed back into Genesys Cloud and delivered to the next available agent. Now, it could be JJ, it could be another member of the same team, et cetera, et cetera. But the key thing is, once the agent answers that interaction, they'll be able to look through the whole of the interaction history, see all the updates she's had, and pick that up
I'm going to take you
go
through
forward with it if
how
there's
we
further
get
work
this
to be
deployed
done.
and configured all within Genesys Cloud. And this is really, really cool, because now what we've done is we've taken that feedback that we got through the via the admin teams and really put everything within Genesys Cloud at your fingertips. So now if you go into admin here, as JJ has done, you'll see under message, messenger deployment and messenger configuration. Now, first of all, let's dive into messenger deployment. This is where we can build out our messenger deployment service, and we can have a unique service per web page. And that's far more agile than what we had before with the typical traditional web chat, because web chat was tied to a web page, website, rather than a web page. So now what we can do, and you can see multiple deployments here, we can take a deployment and tell it that that's going to work on a given page. And we can totally change, therefore, the experience that, you know, people browsing the website has from page to page. It's really versatile. So let's hop into Runner Up Tech here and see what we've got. So within the deployment section, what we can do is give it a name, we can make it active, and we can, first of all, think about security, or more to the point, which website is actually going to connect to this given architecture. So here you can see that we've got allow all domains, or we can run this service on a specific domain. So it really depends on what you want to do. You might have an environment like this that you just want to open up to everybody who's got this snippet of code. They can insert the snippet of code that I'm going to show you shortly onto the website and leverage this service. Because without the code, they can't leverage a service. You're just basically restricting what domains can run it. But if you want to make this run on a specific domain, then what you could do here is you can define that domain. So let's think about that. In the last scenario with Victoria, we had a support call or support interaction. So if we only wanted that experience to be existing on the support page on our website, we could put in here runneruptech.com/services, which was the menu option, the URL we went to. And this service would only be seen from that URL. If you had a common sales sort of route and you wanted to have a totally different web messaging experience there, then you could create another instance within your deployment menu. And you could call that sales, for example, and then just type runneruptech.com/sales, or just runneruptech.com in there. And then anybody connecting to that URL would be able to run this sales instance of Web Messenger. So this is how you can define a different messenger service per page. And that, as I say, is really agile compared to what we had before. If you're familiar with Genesys Cloud architecture, and specific architect where you build out your call flows, you can see here there's some flow logic. So anything you build out in the messaging call flow now, and I say that again, anything you build out in the messaging call flow, because now we've got that common UI within the admin and messaging call flows. So when you go into admin and go to messaging, that will now contain all your messaging, including web messaging. So you can forget all about architects and the web chat area because this no longer leverages that web chat queue. But that's great because that means you could have web chat running elsewhere, but also combine maybe web messaging. So the best of both worlds. So here is my flow logic. This is my actual flow or my queue that's going to be contained. So remember, we were using Spark messaging here. So if we use Spark web messaging in that flow, we've got that chatbot, that engage, that dialogue from our Genesis bot flow, and then it escalated to an agent. So our pool of agents also reside in this Spark messaging flow logic. But you can build out different flows for different uses of web messaging, of course. Now, the great thing is once that's done, all you have to do as an admin is copy this snippet of code. It's a bit larger here, but this is just an example. Copy to clipboard and send that information over to your web developer. He or she will insert that into your website and hey presto, web messaging will be live. It really is that simple. It's fantastic. And of course, if you want to get more bespoke and more personalized in that approach, you can also leverage our APIs, and you'll need the deployment key here as well to drive those APIs from the developer side. So what about now you've sent the code or snippet of code over to the developers, put it on the website, how does it look? Well, it's going to take this basic configuration first of all. But of course, as you would expect, you can build out different configurations per web page. So here you're going to link the web messenger chat for Runner Tech here, the basic chat that we've got for the open URLs. You can now define how this is going to look and feel. So first of all, do we want that widget? Do we want that, that launcher running, or do you want to use your own launcher? Well, if you want to use your own launcher, you can simply switch this one off and then use your own graphic to launch the message window. So when you click your own graphic, that's going to leverage our API and it's going to pop up this messenger window. Otherwise, you can have it on and use the out the box launcher, or you can tie out the box launcher to something like your flow logic or your triggers within things such as our AI technology, predictive engagement, which monitors people's journeys on your website. So when they get to a certain point in the website, you may wish to trigger something like Web Messenger to be invoked and invite them into an engagement. So you can do all that through your business logic. So you can switch it on, you can use business logic, or you can simply switch it off and use the APIs to drive your own launcher. Now, what about the messenger window itself? Can we manipulate that? Well, yes, two things we can do here. We can use the color array here to define the color that we want this to display on in our website. So no code, it's just literally choose a color, save this as a new version. Hey presto, is going to be in bright pink here. If you scroll down, you'll also see some supported languages. Now, this is really interesting. So what we can do is look at the browser, and whatever the whoever's connecting to the website, okay, their browser will be set up for their localized language, and we can detect that within Web Messenger. So on my browser here is detecting that my language of choice is English and my messenger is popping up English. If, for example, if I were attaching from Germany, it would automatically switch to German. Now we can also define this. So we may have flow logic that enables people to engage on Web Messenger and can connect instantly to an agent, or maybe a bot flow. And therefore we want to support certain languages. So here I'm choosing 3 languages that my agents can support. So what will happen in this scenario is a browser will connect to the Web Messenger, connect to your website and invoke Web Messenger. And if that person browsing the website and invoking the Messenger client is from a German, English, or Spanish speaking country, the skin on the Web Messenger will automatically change to support their primary language. However, if they're browsing from a different country that we don't specify or support within this configuration, we can then define a default language. Typically, I guess that could be English, but the world is your oyster. Whatever options you choose from the primary languages, you can select one of them to be your default language. So this means, for example, if we connect from France, when that person connects, we'll detect the localized language settings within the browser to be French, and will automatically present this Web Messenger service in English. So great versatility there. But like I say, in a real world example, this is probably going to be tied to the agents who are going to be interacting with the web messenger service on the back end, maybe that web messenger chat, passing data back and forth. You're going to have to tie that into the languages that they can support. But a great feature, a great feature. And I think you're going to absolutely love that. Now, one other point to think of is admin. From an admin perspective, what we can do is switch the ability to upload graphics on and off, and also switch off whether or not we're going to tie this into our AI technology, such as predictive engagement. And last of all, version control is all within this single skin. You can build out multiple versions within Web Messenger, play with them, deploy them, test them. And when you're happy with the version you want to go live, you can navigate to these three dots and just simply say, this is my active version. So I think that's a great high-level overview of web messaging. Let's now switch back to the slides and take a look at the roadmap. So before I commence with the roadmap items, it's worth pointing out here that things are subject to change. You know, whenever on a roadmap, we always have this concept of how we would like the product to develop and mature in the future. But of course, it's all based on customer feedback and different trends within the marketplace. So there's a few factors that can change the final outcome. So as long as you're aware that this is subject to change, and of course, I can't commit to any dates, but very soon we're going to see things like the quick responses here, or what we call quick replies. The quick replies are the items here we see circled. This is ideally suited for engagement with a service automation or maybe a bot flow of some type. You can see here we're actually talking to a bot. And then what we can do within the interaction stream is we can actually give you instant answers. So, or instant replies on your behalf. So if I was all set with this, I could click all set rather than type it into the text box. And this just enables me to have a really super slick flow with that bot flow or that bot engagement. So that's really cool. Quick replies coming very soon. They are actually in development stages. And then we're looking at other content to be inserted into the messaging flow. Things like the quick access button here to set a callback. I can search in this text box here for knowledge base articles, which will pull on Genesys Cloud knowledge base functionality. And of course, you can rate the experience. So all these wonderful tweaks all within the inline messaging. After the quick replies, as I say, those elements are in progress currently. We're going to be moving on to these subjects that we call cards and carousels. Now, these are really cool because this allows you to engage with maybe an agent or chatbot and information to be fed into the messenger feed, and then have embedded enhancements in there. So you could be talking to a chatbot in this scenario, talking about a certain type of coffee. You want to learn more about the coffee. You've got this button here that you can click on to go away and look at more detail about this specific brand. And that can be an external website. It could be linked to the website you're embedded within, or of course, more likely, it's going to be the content will be embedded within the Messenger thread. So no need to move away from Web Messenger. Likewise, if you want to escalate that to a chat, we'll have the ability to chat here to a barista, and that will evolve into things like video and voice feeds as well in the future, but they aren't currently on the roadmap. But I've got insider information to suggest we are really going to enhance this message feed as and when the time is right. Now, with regards to carousels, that really takes the middle message thread into the next level, because we're talking about a specific type of coffee here. But in carousel, because we're talking about coffees, we've got the ability to search, or rather move left and right and look at other coffee brands or other coffee makeups. And again, we've got the ability here to buy now instantly, or learn more about this particular brand we're looking at, or if we ultimately want to escalate to an engagement, some sort of chat, again, we've got the ability there to chat to a barista. So really, some really cool stuff coming from the dev team. As I say, this is all potential roadmap information. It is subject to change due to different demands and timelines, of course, but look out for this. And as and when these developments break and become GA, again, the team here at Partner Sparks will update you accordingly. So thanks for watching this session. I hope that's been really interesting and beneficial to you. If you need anything further around Genesys Cloud CX web messaging, do reach out to your colleagues within Genesys and they'll happily support you with your needs. Otherwise, be safe and I'll see you on the next product update. Bye for now.